Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blind Buys, a podcast where we watch and discuss movies we've bought sight unseen. I'm Jesse, and with me, as always, is my collector in crime, Josh.
Hey, thanks for joining us for our 10th episode, where we'll be covering Susan Seidelman's Desperately Seeking Susan, featuring Madonna in her first major starring role. That's coming up here at the bottom of the hour. But to start this episode off, we made it to 10 episodes, which is, in my opinion, a major achievement. I mean, 20 weeks that we've been doing this. So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who's been listening and for sticking with us for 10 episodes. This has been a super fun thing to get into. Already discovered some new favorites in the process of doing this. So I've been having a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to doing more episodes.
Absolutely. I always look forward to sitting down and talking and hearing what you have to say. I'm just hearing what the next pick is going to be. Like it's almost like a release day in and of itself. So, absolutely, I echo all of that. Thank you for sticking with us. I know a handful to paraphrase Tobias Funke. There are dozens of you out there, dozens, I'm sure. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Here's to 10 more at least.
At least 10 more. We got to finish out the year, and that'll put us at 52 weeks. What is that? 26
26
episodes?
and change. We missed a week
Ish.
where
Yep.
due to some snafus. So we'll see if we get 20 of these in the can in a
Yeah.
year. Given everything that's happening, big and small in the world, I
Yep.
count it as a success. So
Well, as we do at the top of every episode, we like to discuss what we've been watching lately. Jesse, what have you been watching lately?
variety, a grab bag as ever. I just when you listen to lots of podcasts, you get lots of sort of jangly keys coming your way.
Yep.
For our friends over at Bat and Spider through in in art through a real curveball. I don't know if you watched along, but did you treat yourself to a film called Big Boobs Buster within the
I
last week or two?
I have not watched it yet. I plan to eventually. I don't know when. but but I have been seeing the talk happening in the Discord and beyond.
Well, I did watch it, and let me tell you, whatever you think when I mention the title of a film called Big Boobs Buster, this is probably not that. It's it's a Japanese film, and it's only about 45 minutes long with the credits. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's short. It's short, but this is a tale of a young woman in school who is coming into her own, trying to navigate the social landscape with boys and whatnot, and she finds herself running up against the tastes of young boys, and honestly, let's be honest, a lot of older boys as well who just prefer women with bigger busts, and so she doesn't know how to get around this, and so she takes it upon herself to sort of intimidate the girls in school with larger breasts than she has, and that's basically what the story is. She sort of becomes this superhero or a masked vigilante of sorts.
That is not what I was expecting at all.
I mean, it's not as it's just very different than what you would have imagined. It's a Japanese film from 1990, which with sort of the quirky sensibilities of almost, I guess, kind of. I haven't really seen any of these, but like the Pinku or Pinky films of
Yeah.
Japan, sort of like that. But generally very silly, kind of lighthearted and funny, I thought, and listening to the guys talk about it was a hoot. So that was something I checked out, Big Boobs Buster, and I got it on a Scarecrow DVD from Scarecrow, which had a really wacky sort of blooper behind the scenes reel. That was something
Love
else.
it.
I think that's also coming out on a Blu-ray from somebody who specializes in sort of Asian cinema releases.
Yeah.
So
That's
keep
that's the
your eye
great
out for
thing.
that, I guess.
That's the great thing about this era of physical media we're living in. Is just someone's going to pick this up and put it out for
Yes,
the people who want it. So
yes. So that was notable. I checked out, I took a night to myself to go out to the cinema to check out Mortal Kombat 2.
okay.
And gotta say, I wish I had liked it more. Something about
Had you
it.
s- had you seen the original? I guess, or not original, but like the latest first one.
Yes, I absolutely was well steeped in the version from the 90s, and I saw the first of these new ones when it not long after it came out, not in the theater, but it was either a rental or a library DVD, and I had a good time with it. But this one, I don't know, something about it was almost too. There wasn't enough silliness. There wasn't enough Carl Urban. Because I did enjoy his Johnny Cage, even if he seemed sort of like a little too much like a Wolverine sort of ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a good time with his character. He's not in it enough. There's like a Benjamin Wallfish score, like the
Yeah.
guy who did and it just kind of felt
Mm-hmm.
like more dour than I want a Mortal Kombat movie to be. So,
Hmm.
but there was definitely some funny stuff. There were some funny things I laughed. The way that Baraka, I don't know if you're a Mortal Kombat person, but the character Baraka has a very unique look, lots of scary teeth, and he looked awesome. And the sort of the scene, the fight between him and Johnny Cage and what becomes of that was very funny. I got a lot out of that. I kind of wish more of it had been of that tone.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bit of a miss, but it always fun to get out. And there were people in the theater too, so it was fun to see that with some other folks and not just kind of solo as my late night screenings tend to be sometimes. But continue, and I also saw something else notable that I enjoyed quite a bit actually, and was a bit of a surprise. Was the sequel to Pumping Iron? Have you seen Pumping Iron, the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary?
I haven't seen it, but I intend to at some point. I did not realize there was a sequel though.
There is, and I've been aware of it for some time, and it's actually by the same director. George Butler made both of them, and this one was filmed. I think Pumping Iron, the first one was 1980, and this is 1985 at one of the first big, I guess, bodybuilding competitions for women, and
Oh.
it's as good as the first one, honestly, but very different. Like the first one is really just about the sort of clash of personalities between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno, which
Mm-hmm.
is incredible to watch and very entertaining. But the second one is really about the struggles of these women who are across the board obviously in incredible shape, but they're sort of crashing against the realities of the men who run these competitions and their ideas of what it means to be feminine or a woman and to also be fit. And it's really quite gross at times. And your heart breaks for some of these women, especially this one woman who's sort of like one of the main characters in the story. Bev Francis was this she was an Australian power lifter who then decided to switch over to bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding. So she dropped a bunch of weight, but she was still, I mean, if you looked at her next to all the other people, all the other women on the stage, she's just like head and shoulders like above in terms of like the definition and how big she was.
Mm-hmm.
But because that was seen as less feminine, she runs into problems at the competition. And so it has a real kind of powerful political bent to it that I didn't expect to find in the sequel to Pumping Iron. So I
Yeah.
would highly recommend people seek that out. That was a Scarecrow DVD rental. I could see somebody putting this out on Blu-ray. I think it'd be great if somebody like maybe one of the Vinegar Syndrome partner labels would pick this up and put it out, because I don't think there's a Blu-ray currently, but I think it has a lot to say,
Mm-hmm.
and should be more widely seen. So yeah, those are some of the highlights. And I saw Ninja Death Squad, another one of my VHS screenings at one of the independent theaters down in South Seattle where they just show VHS only
Mm-hmm.
releases. And this was a Godfrey Ho film. Godfrey Ho, known for kind of one or two or three existing movies, kind of cutting them up, filming some scenes to sort of string together a plot of sorts. But really, the action scenes are from other ninja movies, and sometimes the plots, if they come together, that make zero sense. So that was a
The
fascinating and lots of good fun.
He did Ninja Terminator, right? The one with the Garfield
Yes,
phone.
yes, yes, yes.
That's
That was really good. This one made. I mean, I admit I fell asleep a couple of times because there was like so little to sort of grab onto and sort of like what was going
oof.
on. But that was a packed house, lots of funny stuff whenever I was awake. So I had a good time at Ninja Death Squad, even if I didn't see as much of it as I would like to have. It's on Tubi, so maybe I'll catch up with more of it later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. I'm so jealous that you have a place like that, like fairly close by, to get to experience screenings like that. That seems like such a fun time.
Yeah, yeah, I really it's in South Seattle, so I tend to go later at night, so it doesn't take too long to get down there, but it's a little bit of a drive. I wish I could go more often. My main rep theater that lost its space a couple of years, like about a year ago, due to rents and leases and real estate chicanery, is still looking for a permanent home, but I'm really hoping they come back soon because that's much closer and, for my money, has some of the best programming in the city. So yeah, if you're blessed enough to have a good rep theater in your city, check it out. There's always something interesting playing there, and you meet neat people. I mean, the
Yeah.
vibe is just a little bit different than the multiplex. What about you, Josh? What's been treating you good at the movies recently?
So I had another order of Scarecrow rentals come in through the mail, and like the last couple times I've done this, they were for various letterbox challenges that I've been doing. The first one I watched from this bunch was a movie from 2006 called Stick It. This is a movie about like a gymnastics superstar who decides to give up the sport completely, and kind of live out her teenage years as a delinquent of sorts. And when she gets caught making trouble, the judge sends her to this very strict gymnastics camp, kind of as a form of retribution. And it was actually like surprisingly good and fun. It stars Jeff Bridges as the gymnastics like head instructor of this really elite gym, and it stars Missy Peregrym as the main character Haley, and it goes by really fast. Like it just kind of cycles through plot very quickly, and ends up going in some directions that I wasn't expecting. I couldn't tell if it was trying to be serious or like being intentionally campy or not. That was really my only problem with it. It was a lot of fun though. 2006 was when this came out, so music was mostly rock of that time, and the costumes, of course, are just so ridiculous. Yeah, really enjoyed that one. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't, and I don't think I've ever even heard of it, but apparently it's written and directed by the writer or one of the writers of Bring It On.
I didn't realize that. I it has a similar kind of vibe to Bring It On, and obviously the story on the surface kind of feels a little similar. But the director, Jessica Bendinger, this is the only thing that she's directed.
Yeah, and she's the sole writer, at least on Letterboxd, of Bring It On. So I mean, Bring It On is hers. So I mean, Bring It On's an awesome movie. I love. I grew up, not grew up exactly, but that came out like when I was in high school, and
Yeah.
was on all the time. I probably wouldn't have admitted to being a huge fan of it at the time, but I don't know. It's just one of the great entertainments of that time. I think, the cast is really winning. It's a fun sort of, and the fact that, it kind of acknowledges the the cultural theft that took place. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I could see why the tone would be in it. It would be interesting to watch this other film and see what the tone is, because that's like a Bring It On is definitely like a fun movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Bring It On, the original. I think I've seen most of the Bring It Ons, if not all of them. Um, my wife loves these movies, and so that was one of the first things that she showed me when we
Nice.
were dating originally. And the funny thing is, my sister came to stay with us this past weekend. She's a senior in high school, and so we showed her, I believe it's the third Bring It On, All or Nothing. This is the one that stars Hayden Panettiere and Solange.
Oh wow, I didn't know Solange was in movies.
Yeah, this might have been one of her only roles that isn't like part of a Beyonce project. Yeah, it is wild and has not aged like particularly well, but it's a perfect example of like how campy these movies can get and how fun they are if you're really just wanting to like bathe in this dialogue that is it's just so truly iconic. So yeah, Bring It On is great. Stick It was fun. I'll probably revisit it in the future. Another Scarecrow rental that I went in on was In the Cut, Jane Campion's 2003
Yes.
film. Sad to say though, I didn't particularly enjoy this movie.
Enjoy is a weird word to use for it because it's got I love it. I loved it. And I would probably say I enjoyed it, but I could see it being a movie that is to be respected perhaps more than enjoyed.
Yeah, I think it's shot gorgeously. Um, I just was really bored by it.
Ooh, interesting.
And I don't think Meg Ryan was the right choice for the character, the main character. I don't know.
Hmm.
Again, totally my opinion. And this movie is like over 20 years old at this point. So does it really matter? But yeah, it was not for me, unfortunately.
I only caught up with it maybe 2 years ago, and I remembered at the time when it came out, and people either didn't know what to make of Meg Ryan in it, or like I think there was such a she was had such been the sweetheart for like a decade or more. I think it was hard for people to see her in something that was such a departure. But I don't know. I really loved it. I liked her willingness to jump into something so different. And
Hmm.
Mark Ruffalo, I think he's great. He's also a guy who's willing to do really weird stuff. I mean, if between
That's
movies like
true.
that and like what he's doing in like Poor Things and other stuff. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you checked it out, gave it a shot.
Yeah. Uh, Next up in my Scarecrow pile was Chasing Amy, part of the View Askew universe by Kevin
Mm-hmm.
Smith. I'm kind of making it my project this year, one of many projects, I guess, but I want to get through these View Askew universe movies because I absolutely love Clerks when I watched it for the first time last year. And then with all the hullabaloo surrounding the Dogma 4K release as well, wanted to get on that. I guess I'm watching these a little bit out of order because I actually watched Clerks 2 like 10 minutes before we recorded tonight
Oh
because
wow.
I wanted to get that in, so I have to go back and watch Jay and Silent Bob now and all of that. But Chasing Amy I thought was fantastic. I really loved it, and it honestly it hasn't aged as poorly as I was kind of led to believe that it might have, reading some of the letterbox reviews. At least in my opinion, I think it's clear that I don't that Kevin Smith might not have had the right like language to describe what these characters are going through, but the intentions were there, and I feel like it's a well-intentioned movie about, people discovering bisexuality. It's definitely not framed that way, at least when it was released, but it definitely feels that way now.
Yeah, I've only seen maybe each of these. I've seen Dogma a couple times, but the others I've only seen once each, and it's been a long time since I've seen Chasing Amy. Mallrats is the one I caught up with most recently, and I honestly didn't care for it. I found a lot of the
Mm.
characters to be kind of annoying.
Yeah.
But Clerks, love it. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That was the first R-rated film that I bought a ticket for myself when I had turned 17. Saw it with one of my best friends, and we had a grand old time laughing
Amazing.
together in a movie theater for that. So I kind of want to keep that in amber, that experience. That feels
Yeah.
like the one that if I were to revisit it again, the returns would be diminishing. But yeah, Dogma and Clerks to me, those are like pretty solid ones. I haven't seen Clerks 2 or any of the subsequent ones that I see listed here as View Askew universe that it looks like Kevin Smith didn't direct but did write. Some other Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie.
Yeah, I
I
believe he
don't know
wrote
about
that one
those.
but didn't direct that
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and some other things. Oh, and Clerks 3. I guess he came back for Clerks 3 and the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. But yeah, I enjoy revisiting some of those earlier View Askew universe films for sure.
Yeah, they're fun. The characters are definitely annoying in most of these movies
Mhm.
because most of the time they're given this dialogue that like would seem on paper like overly verbose or like almost just like not realistic, but I don't know, the world that he's created and like the kind of outsized nature of these characters, I really enjoy like listening to the quick-witted dialogue that they all trade back and forth, and like the hangout vibes that he kind of
Sure.
curates throughout the
Yep. Yep.
whole series are awesome. So I'm gonna be checking out the rest of those for sure, but Chasing Amy I had a really good time with.
Yeah, for I think I had seen it when when I was a kid. I saw Airheads a number of times, and for whatever reason, I would always get Airheads and Mallrats mixed up in my head. I don't know if you
Mm.
saw Airheads. Yeah, it's a film with Adam Sandler and Brendan Fraser. They like hold up a. They're trying to get they're in a band. They're trying to get their song played on the radio, I think. So they hold up a radio station with water guns. It's very
Whoa.
silly. Yeah, yeah, but not the
Oh,
same film.
this is hilarious. I'm looking at it right now. Add that to watch list.
Yeah, I think if you enjoyed some of these other movies, you'd get a kick out of Airheads, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen it in probably almost 20 years, but check it out.
Yeah, may as well. And then the last two I wanted to shout out that I rented from Scarecrow. First off, Velvet Goldmine,
Mm,
Todd Haynes' 1998 film about the glam rock era, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And the music is awesome. Some of it's original, some of it's borrowed from the period, but it just makes for great like car listening music. I had a really good time with that. And then the final one I rented was Desert Hearts from the Criterion collection. Donna Dietsch's soft spoken, desert set lesbian love story. And yeah, it's just really great vibes. Watched it on a rainy Sunday and it was nice. I really liked it.
yeah. Yeah, I really like that one too. That's on I have my sort of prioritized Criterion list of stuff I want to get in the next sale, and then a much longer like nice to haves list. And that's always on the nice to haves. I should prioritize it, but I really loved it the first time I saw it. Great queer coming of age story for sure. And also, like a kind of a tale about what life was like for women before no
Hmm.
fault divorces, because like the whole setup of the movie is like she moves to Nevada,
It's
or
Reno, yeah.
to get like she has to set up residency in Nevada for like a few months to be able to get a
Hmm.
divorce.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it kind of feels like we're backsliding in this country in a lot of ways, and who's to say if 2 years from now women won't be having to move to Nevada to get a divorce. Anyway,
Hmm.
it's a little bit of a soapbox moment, but this
Yeah.
stuff's real, folks.
Yep. Um, and this isn't a movie or anything, but I just wanted to say that the first season of Saturday Night Live UK just wrapped up this past week, and it is phenomenal. It's magical. I don't know how they were able to like replicate the structure of American Saturday Night Live, but with the British sense of humor, but they did it like almost perfectly. So I just wanted to shout that out because I've been obsessed with this every week and like watching and rewatching their sketches. So I wanted to shout that out because that's been a huge part of my watching these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Slate Culture Gabfest covered it, I think, when it was first airing, and I only watched one or two sketches, but they really made me. What I saw was very funny. I lived over there for a little while for schooling, and
Nice.
so it's always fun to kind of dip back into that mode of humor.
Yeah, it almost feels like sacrilege to say that I prefer the UK version of Weekend Update to the American version, but they found two fantastic comedians with the perfect tone for delivering just like the dumbest headlines and making them sound like smart and polished, which is something that I think the American version has kind of lost a little bit. But not to spend too much time on
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
SNL, but I just wanted to put that out there. The whole season is on Peacock, I think, of the UK version. If
Yeah.
anyone wants
It'll
to
be
check that
interesting
out.
to see if it sticks around, how they'll tweak it for the next year, if they figured out what from the formula works for the UK and what doesn't, and what they make their own.
Yep. Yeah, I just know it's coming back in September, so I will be eagerly awaiting that. Anything else you wanted to mention?
I don't think so.
All right, let's move on to our section about upcoming releases coming soon to own.
Coming soon to own on video and DVD.
All right, and as we've been doing this section the last couple of episodes, we're just going to bring up a couple of things that have piqued our interest here in the last couple of weeks. We're not going to list everything that has been announced lately, but just stuff that we think we're going to probably pick up or, may rent or whatever in the future. So, Jesse, what you got?
We timed things well this time. The Criterion announcements typically come on the 15th. They pushed them to Monday, which was the
Mm,
18th. And this is one that I've been waiting for since I first watched the DVD release. When I first started diving back into movies some years ago, they released a 4K of Barbara Koppel's Harlan County, USA, which is just, I mean, one of the greatest American documentaries ever made. Really, it's about a coal miners' strike in a Kentucky town, and the things that she was there to witness and capture. That just the sort of real literal war that was breaking out between these mining companies and gun thugs that they had hired, and the people in this town. Really incredible stuff. I was tremendously moved by it. This is from 1976, and it's been in the collection for a while, but it had only been on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is like, a well-deserved like DVD straight to 4K upgrade. So that's a absolute must get when it arrives, because I think it's just remains incredibly relevant. And yeah, it's also incidentally an incredible sort of like ethnomusicology piece almost, because just the sort of the tradition of music in Appalachia, you get a lot of that, like these people, like people singing on the way into the mine, people singing on their porches, just songs that they sing with each other as they're going about the business of trying to get the strike going. So really, really great stuff. And they also announced in the same crop of releases another couple documentary, American Dream, similarly about more labor struggles. So good to see more documentaries in the collection. Might have been nice if they had done like a full couple box set or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
even just like one of these mini collections of like 2 or 3 features plus some shorts, because I think she's got a lot of documentary shorts that they presumably could have thrown in there. But either way, glad that these are going to be updated or entered into the collection, and that people might see them, because these types of movies are really important. And then what else I got? There's a couple other things coming from BFI. So these will be region. This will be a Region B release. They are releasing Mark Jenkins' Cornish trilogy. So these are 3 films from Mark Jenkins, who is a British writer director who I assume he's probably from Cornwall, but that he's got these 3 movies set in the Cornwall region of the UK, kind of like the toe of the boot, I guess you'd say,
Mm.
of the English mainland. And I've only seen one of these films. And it's called Ennismane. It's sort of this really psychedelic, phantasmagoric folk horror film that I was able to see in theaters when it was released, probably almost 2 years ago now. Really striking film, kind of hard to describe. It's mostly this woman who's like stuck on well, not stuck. She's on this island doing like research on these flowers, and she's like kind of the only person on the island, and lots of strange things start happening, and this is kind of shot in a very striking way. It looks like a film from the 70s, and just this, something set on this sort of windswept island in the UK really kind of was right in the pocket for me. And one of the other films in it actually has yet to be released. It's called Rose of Nevada, and it's about these 2 guys who are fishermen in Cornwall who are locked in some sort of a time loop. I don't really know anything
Ooh.
about it. It hasn't come out yet. It's coming out this summer. It's kind of one of my most anticipated movies of the summer. So kind of just, and then the third film is another movie that he made called Bait, his debut. Don't know anything about it, but just kind of on the strength of Ennismane and what Rose of Nevada sounds like, I'm very intrigued by this set, and would consider buying it just on the strength of what I've seen from it so far. So,
Yeah, I think
Jenkins.
I've seen Ennismane.
Oh, really?
I definitely didn't see it in theaters, but I think I must have rented it or something. Because when you were describing it, I was like, I've seen that movie, I think, but I don't know if I logged it or not. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, there's these sort of things that are almost like not flashbacks exactly, but she sort of starts seeing glimpses of the history of this island, like people who
Mm-hmm.
were on the island before. It's all very trippy, and not explained in a way that I really liked. That was kind of left to the imagination for you to kind of puzzle out what was you're being
Yeah.
shown on your own.
Yeah, I feel like I remember there's like a scene in like a kitchen or something and she's on the
Yep,
phone.
yep, yes, yes, yes. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
okay. All right. Well, I've seen it.
There you go. Well, yeah, and Rose of Nevada. If you're able to catch it this summer, I
Yes.
hope that I can. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was sort of getting it. Kind of sounded like The Lighthouse or something like that, but set in the modern day. So yeah, that's definitely up my alley. And the last thing I noted here is not release news, but sort of an updated rumor of
Mm-hmm.
sorts. Peter Jackson kind of keeps. It seems like he just kind of runs his mouth about stuff. Because he also said like he might be, maybe he's going to direct the Silmarillion. Maybe he got permission to direct a Silmarillion film or films.
Yeah.
Who knows? But he has dropped another little nugget about Brain Dead, his sort of seminal gross out flick, incredible body horror film Brain Dead.
Mm-hmm.
That's been rumored to be coming to 4K finally. I mean, I don't even know if it has a Blu-ray release. I think I saw it on a DVD, but it might also be coming with upgrades of Meet the Feebles and Bad Taste, which are his. I mean, before he did, Lord of the Rings. So that's actually another movie that I saw that I didn't mention. Is I also caught up with Heavenly Creatures,
Oh yeah.
kind of the last big thing he did before. I guess he also did, Frighteners, but before he did Lord of the Rings, excellent movie. But he was into some freaky stuff before he made Lord of the Rings. It's kind of remarkable that the guy who made these movies was given the keys to this franchise, and that he made what he made. But I mean, if you look at the craft of what he was doing in these movies, I guess it's not surprising. But yeah, if we do end up getting like some kind of a gross out box set of Bad Taste, Brain Dead, and Meet the Feebles, that would be pretty cool. But I guess we have to wait and see if that comes
Yeah.
to pass.
I've got Brain Dead on my list for the cult movie challenge that I'm doing this year, and I put that on there before I realized it wasn't streaming anywhere. So I'm gonna have to go hunt down a copy of this elusive DVD. Or, or
Scarecrow's got it, but that might be an RBA one. I don't know if they'll rent that via the mail, but they definitely have it.
yeah, I'll have to check it out.
What about you? What's on your list? What sounded good to you in the last couple of weeks?
Well, Disney announced a week ago that they'll be putting out a 4K edition of the filmed Hamilton musical that went straight to Disney Plus during COVID. The set itself looks pretty deluxe, although I think they announced the price at $79.99, which feels like a lot. So I would love to add this to my collection, but not at that price point.
Yeah, that's exploitative of the Hamilton people they know who won't be able to keep themselves from it. But yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking to see what else is in here besides just the two discs. I think there's some art cards, there's some collectible sheet music, a fabric poster, and then the slipcover looks really nice, and there's some interior art and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. $80. This is one of those ones where I'm like, I really could just fire up Disney Plus and watch this again. It's not like I'm going to
yeah,
watch Hamilton a lot more in my lifetime because I have seen it so many times already, but I don't know, maybe.
yeah. It kind of feels of a piece of a lot of studios, kind of like going with the steelbook first, and sometimes like, well, maybe steelbook's the only thing that's going to come. It's like, well, give me a standard or something like that. I don't need to have these deluxe editions of everything that comes, especially for if you're throwing in all these extra doodads that I don't want, and that jacks it up to
Yeah.
$80.
Yeah, like I was trying to track down a 4K of the Bone Temple, and the only 4K release they did of that is the Steelbook, at least for right now. Like I didn't read anything online about any plans for a standard edition, but like they did a standard edition for 28 years later, so I'm like, I would like the Bone Temple standard edition 4K to put those together and not have to
Yeah.
fork the money over for a Steelbook. Anyway, rant over. Deaf Crocodile has announced Volume 4 of their Treasures of Soviet Animation collection. The first three volumes of this set have been a big hit for me. I've absolutely loved these. So Volume 4 is going to be consisting of The Adventures of Mowgli, which is a 5-part animated adaptation of the Jungle Book, which came out, I believe, around the same time as the Disney version. I was trying to pinpoint the dates to when like the first installment of the Soviet version came out and when the Disney version did. But this version is allegedly like a more faithful retelling of the Rudyard Kipling story than the Disney version. And the stills that they posted on Instagram the other day are just really intriguing to me. This animation style is very blocky and very grainy, and I'm into it. So the 5 installments of this are edited together into a 90-minute feature. So that's what this set will consist of. And yeah, I'm just really interested to check this out and see how it differs from the Disney version.
Yeah, very very striking, these Soviet animated films that they keep mining. So yeah, it'll be hard to pass up. I'll at least maybe try to rent it first, just because Deaf Crocodile just keeps putting out so much great stuff, and unless you get the subscription, it adds up.
Yeah, I was afraid I'm gonna have to get the July-December subscription, because they're doing this thing right now on their Instagram where they're revealing titles one at a time, and it's very enticing. I see each one of these get announced, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna want that.
Yeah, all
So
four
I'm
of them
gonna
look
have
good
to
so
get the
far.
subscription.
Yeah, there's like these Czech silent films, this other Eastern European Cat City animated movie with like a freaking rat kingpin of some kind with an eye patch and a cigar. I mean, this just looks so cool.
Yeah, and that's a reprint of their original Cat City release that went out of print, and they're adding the sequel, Cat City 2. So I'm definitely gonna check that out. The last one that I'm gonna mention here is a release by Cauldron Films, which is a label that I am late to, but was browsing their catalog the other day and found to be quite up my alley. Cauldron Films is going to be releasing this movie called Supersonic Man on Blu-ray. It's part of their new sub-label Cauldron Crypt, which they are saying is intended to maintain a high level of quality while keeping the price affordable. So they announced a slate of the first run of these Cauldron Crypt movies, but Supersonic Man is the one that's intriguing me the most. It comes from the director of the Spanish horror film Pieces. The description of this from the director of Pieces comes another film that is exactly what you think it is. A mostly family-friendly homage to Superman and Star Wars. From Juan Piquer Simon, the director responsible for Pieces and Slugs. It's everything that you could want from this film. A soaring soundtrack, countless miniatures, wild optical effects, flame-throwing robots, sharks, and of course, a guy in tights saving the girl and the day. I'm very interested to check this out, and I think the price point right now is set at $24.99, which feels doable for a blind buy of something like this. So I'm gonna check this out for sure.
We might be hearing more about Cauldron Films later in this episode. Stay tuned.
Ooh, how interesting! I did when I was doing some research about this label, I did go in on their Blu-ray release of Ninja Terminator, mentioned earlier in this pod.
Excellent.
So I'm gonna check that out for sure.
With no other upcoming releases to talk about, that brings us to our feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
Desperately Seeking Susan. Keep the Faith. Tuesday, 10 a.m. Battery Park, Gangway 1, Love, Jim. This message, spotted in the want ads by Roberta Glass, a bored housewife, sets off a screwball chain of events that features a stolen pair of ancient Egyptian earrings, an inconvenient case of amnesia, a sketchy magic club, a smoking hot projectionist, and plenty of outrageous 80s fashion. All roads lead back to the titular Susan, an elusive drifter played by Madonna, who is the key to the entire mix-up in Desperately Seeking Susan, directed by Susan Seidelman. And yeah, this movie stars Rosanna Arquette as Roberta, Madonna, as I mentioned, as Susan, Aidan Quinn, Robert Joy, Mark Blum, Laurie Metcalf, Will Patton, and a couple of surprises as well in there that I might mention later on.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, this was my pick for this episode. Kind of going off of you choosing a woman director last time, I kind of wanted to piggyback off of that. And I had just picked up the Kino Lorber Blu-ray of this during a sale, so was glad to get this off the shelf sooner rather than later and check it out. Do you have any history with this movie though?
I put it on. I saw the first scene or two of it a couple months ago. I can't remember why or what it was that made me put it on. Or but I've honestly, just that phrase "desperately seeking Susan" has been in my consciousness for decades, and I think I'd definitely seen the poster, going back years, which kind of set me up to think this was going to be like a two-hander between Madonna and Roseanne Arquette, and it's definitely not.
Yeah,
The
no, it's not
poster
that at
and a
all.
handful of promotional shots like sort of make you think that that's what it could be.
Hmm.
So no, I had no history with the film itself. I did watch kind of when I was going through my initial just plowing through any Criterions that were on the shelf at the library. Whenever I was there looking at DVDs, I did watch Smithereens a number of years ago and really enjoyed that. So that's the only other Seidelman film I've seen. So it was good to kind of have that as a, I guess, sort of setting the table for who she was, her work in New York, and kind of
Hmm.
why you see. And I'm by no means steeped in punk culture, but there were people I recognized just in the margins of this film, and there are way more like people who I didn't catch that I read about. So having seen Smithereens, I sort of you understand why she was the person to get this and why she was able to get all these people, I think, to be in this movie. Well, what made you pick it up? I guess I'm curious. Why did you blind? Why was this a blind buy for you?
Similarly to you, the phrase "desperately seeking Susan" is just something that I've always heard, and a lot of it is, like titles of TV episodes that are playing on "Desperately Seeking,"
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or like, parodies, that kind of thing. So that phrase I've heard. Another reason that I picked it specifically for this week is that in the past month I watched A League of Their Own for the first time.
Yes.
Madonna stars in that film, and I thought her performance in that movie was really striking, and I wanted to check out some other stuff that she had done. I've seen Dick Tracy as well, which I think is one of the ones that Madonna might be a bit unfairly maligned for her role in that. But yeah, I wanted to see other stuff that she was in, and yeah, lo and behold, she's in this film. So that's the reason I checked it out. I don't really have much of a history with Madonna's like music, or like you were talking about, like the punk scene in general. I don't have much history there, but I'd be eager to check out Smithereens and more of Seidelman's work, because I guess, spoiler alert for my opinion of this movie, I really really love this movie. I had a really great time watching it.
Yeah. I thought it was a fantastic time, and what it sort of turns into in the middle and in the end, it's basically sort of like an updated screwball comedy.
Yeah.
Is kind of the string running through the core of this thing. And I don't know, I just kind of I caught up with something else recently that was like a screwball comedy from the 80s, and I kind of found myself wondering, was this like the last one of these? Because it feels like something that they don't really try to do that much anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a formula that I really kind of enjoy. It's also like, there's like the whole amnesia plot device that runs through is just both very silly but also just so much fun when you just sort of like roll with it, like, oh, she got hit on the head, she can't remember who she is. It's like, of course that doesn't really, I don't think that's how amnesia really works, but with this sort of like weirdo version of Manhattan that you're running around in with
Yeah.
Madonna and Rosanna Arquette, you're like, yeah, I'm just going with it.
Yeah, I saw something online that said that screwball comedies in the 21st century might have migrated more towards television. Like, and an example they gave was like 30 Rock being an example of a screwball comedy kind of world, I guess. Like, there's not one specific example of that show, but it's like that kind of, the dialogue, the kind of crazy mix-ups that happen in those episodes, the like the heightened
Mm-hmm.
version of New York City that they are kind of all dealing with, might be an example of what that looks like in modern times. But yeah, on the theatrical side, I really can't think of a good example of like a modern screwball comedy, at least in this sense,
Yeah.
that's like well written, has really charismatic leads, and kind of outrageous plots that could only happen in a movie like this.
Well, and I feel like with this, the sort of mistaken identity
Yes.
piece would just be, now at least I'm willing to suspend my disbelief, but audiences now would be like, you could look them up on Instagram and see that that's not her. It's like so many things. Smartphones like ruin the central conceit of this movie, which
Yeah,
seems like
that's true.
there's so many people are like, I want to set my like a lot. It seems like a lot of directors like don't want to make movies set in the modern day because like smartphones have ruined so many things for us.
Yeah. Well, and this movie is like decidedly very analog. Like
Yes, yes.
the whole premise of this movie is Roberta is tracking like the saga of Jim and Susan via the want ads in the
Oh my
paper,
God, yes.
and kind of living vicariously through, you know, those couple of sentences that they exchange every few weeks. Like that is the epitome of pre-internet
Yes,
communication.
that's great. Yeah.
And not only that, but the Des character that Roberta gets mixed up with is a projectionist, a bad projectionist at that. Like, it's just not good at his job, or at least gets distracted enough to, you know, not be able to switch the reels fast enough. Like, but there are so many analog elements to this movie that make it decidedly of its time, but don't make it feel dated. I didn't feel like this movie like felt, you know, too dated to me. Like the characters feel accessible, like the mistaken identity plot is kind of out there, but like if you've seen enough of these movies, you can suspend your disbelief and kind of get behind what's going on with the
Yeah.
mix up.
Yeah, the if the setup is sort of like harkens back to the screwball, it didn't feel like they were trying to mimic the tone of like 1930s patter or anything like that. It definitely feels like it's super New York, which I love. Even if it's like kind of like I'd have to go back and rewatch Smithereens, but you know, this is a bit more of a you can tell that like Seidelman was being inducted into like the next level of filmmaking, which I read a couple of letterbox reviews that sort of say like, oh, that sort of sanded off the edges of everything that was interesting about Smithereens. I'm like, or it's also kind of cool that a woman was given a big budget to like make a movie in New York with Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just a real having sort of grown up in the state and like going down to the city all the time to visit family and going to school there. I'm just a real sucker for New York stuff. And just like if you dig into it, some of the lore surrounding Madonna and her placement in this movie and some of the things that happened there and why, I thought was like pretty fascinating. Because I guess the club that she, I mean, because there's literally there's a shot in this movie where Madonna is like leaning against a jukebox that's playing a Madonna single.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes, yes, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care that there's like a dissonance between like, but it's Madonna and it's just like, no, this is great.
Yeah. It works
And
so
apparently,
well. That song
yeah,
In the Groove, it plays like 3 times throughout the film, but it's so catchy. I love it.
yeah. Well, and apparently that was like the club. She may have played her. So I guess it was a place called Danceteria, which was I guess maybe sort of a club pop up that happened in a number of different places throughout the city in the 80s. But I think it was maybe the first like where she had her debut show as a solo artist. So kind of an interesting detail that would have been maybe more obvious to people at the time. But yeah, I mean, this was like 1985. So this was like really when Madonna was kind of becoming the epitome of cool, along with like, you know, it was her and Michael Jackson. And then everybody else, maybe Prince, like a distance. Everybody else was like a distant third to those guys.
Yeah, and she's having a bit of a resurgence right now. I think there's a new album of hers coming out soon.
She was with Sabrina Carpenter
Yeah,
at some shows and some stuff. Yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure. And
but
it's interesting because she's kind of like in this movie, she's sort of almost more like a Spice, I guess they would say. That's just she's not like I wouldn't even call it this. Like this is kind of like Rosanna Arquette's movie more so than it's Madonna's movie.
yeah, I agree with that.
But Madonna's definitely great. I mean, they kind of got her to be like we need Madonna to be Madonna, and that's what she does, and it's great.
Yeah, is it too early for us to get into the Madonna question of it all, like what was going on with her film career and the way people were feeling about it? Because I'll be honest, I have not really ever been tapped into Madonna's work, and the discourse is one that I am not the most familiar with, but it's something that I hear every time someone talks about a movie that Madonna is in, that it's like it's either like Madonna's in this, and you know she had a very maligned film career, or like, oh, Madonna's in this and she's not good in this movie, or Madonna's in this and I don't know why she was cast in this movie. Like, what is going on there? Do you know? Like, what was the big deal?
I mean, on that question, I would refer people to Karina Longworth's You Must Remember This, her impeccably researched and produced podcast series that she's done a bunch of different, series. They're basically like you're almost listening to like a history of film textbook, or like when you listen to one of her series. But she did 2 series on the erotic thrillers of the 80s and 90s. And there's definitely 1 or 2 episodes in the 90s arc where she talks about Madonna. And so those movies kind of came after this one. But, I think it's a kind of a combination of, misogyny and kind of like people feeling like maybe she was getting too big for her britches. She was so kind of successful musically. Like the idea that she would also be a good actress, I think was maybe just too much for some people to handle. And I don't know. So I would refer people to listen to those because it's a very entertaining. You'll learn a lot, and they're great. They're a great series. But for this movie, I mean, this was I looked into it a little bit because I was curious where this was placed amidst everything else she did. This is for sure the first like real feature that she's in where she has anything like a starring role. So this kind of seemed like she decided, I want to move into movies. This is what I want to do. Get me set up and find me a project. I don't know what came first. This movie or wanting to do movies, they sort of matched it to like, we could get Madonna for this because she's just, the character that she plays is just kind of like a sexy woman of mystery, and she does a good job of it. I think later in the 90s, it's like the erotic thriller was sort of like coming to its, it was the latter phases of that cycle, and it was kind of easy to malign those as trashy, and all the just sort of sexual politics surrounding Madonna and herself and how she presented in culture. I think it was easy to just kind of, for moralistic types, to really pile up on it. I mean, this was the era when you had Tipper Gore putting parental advisory stickers on CDs and stuff. So it was kind of in the air to kind of, take and she was definitely, Madonna's a provocateur. She always was. So I think she was kind of pretty willing to kind of play into the game of people wanting to see her as a villain of sorts. So
yeah. Well, I think she's perfectly cast in this movie. I think she's exactly what this movie needs, in the right dosage too. Like, as you said, she's kind of like the second lead of this movie, but it is more of Roberta's story and how, like, what happens when she gets mixed up in Susan's like lifestyle and identity and that kind of thing. What did you think about Rosanna Arquette in this movie? Because she kind of has to play, like, on one side the bored housewife, and then after the bonk on the head, someone who's confused about like their identity, thinking they might be Susan, and then, trying to pick up the pieces of what she's kind of inferring her life should be. And then the second bonk on the head when she goes back to normal. Like, what did you think of her in this movie?
Well, I think it definitely, the movie as a whole and the character that she's playing definitely fits into the mold of like kind of the 80s yuppie kind of like, this is the dream that I thought was going to be so great. Like, they're sort of she and her hot tub king husband who's like scamming on her. That, oh my God, what a tool. But he did a really good job. The guy, I should get his name up here. Gary
Blum.
Glass. So Mark Blum as Gary Glass. He did a really good job of making him just really despicable.
Absolutely unlikable.
Yeah.
Like, in every sense.
But yeah, she's doesn't have much to do around the house. Her husband doesn't think that she enjoys sex that much or cares about orgasms. Actual lines from this movie instead of Rosanna Arquette. Okay. But anyway, the setup of them in this house, which is very anodyne, like everything's white. I mean, the shot, there's a shot of like a chicken in a rotisserie machine that just made me want to vomit. Like, she's spraying
it with the bottle.
Yes. She's making like, she's trying to cook based off of like she's watching Julia Child videos, like trying to create like a nice meal for her and her husband who's like scamming on her and stuff. So I thought it set it up really well as her as a person who like wanted something more than what she had. Like, this dream of a suburban life is not what she thought it would be, and she just kind of like has been tracking this sort of saga of like who is this Susan? It sounds like her life is so intriguing. So I thought it was a pretty funny way to get her through a series of outrageous circumstances into like, living the life and going on this crazy adventure. And it's sort of like an interesting, if you think of it, was like, audiences having listened to and watched Madonna rise over the previous couple of years. It's like, you get to go on this adventure where you see this woman kind of become Madonna for a couple of days. And that's what happens. And in the 1980s, people must have eaten that up. Yeah. And I ate it up too. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I can only imagine what they thought back then. But yeah, I thought she was awesome in this movie. She has kind of like, it's not like, she doesn't have manic energy, but she has the okay, I'm going to go along with this. And, no matter what happens, I guess I'm kind of in for the ride and going to see what happens kind of energy,
She's a magician's assistant for a while in this crazy magic act at the club.
Yeah, I thought that was great. The fact that she, like, even after she goes back to being Roberta, she continues to carry around the birdcage around New York City. It's a great character choice.
Yes, I wrote down the line when she gets thrown in the squad car with an actual, she's presumed to be a sex worker after she hits her head the second time and remembers who she is. The woman next to her says, "How do you use the birds?" That was really funny. That really made me laugh.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a lot of great lines. I mean, the another one that I wrote down was she only has one scene, but their maid, the Daisy the maid, when Gary Glass finds the shopping bag from a place that sort of gives him a clue as to where his wife's disappeared to, and she's trying to get the bag from the maid, and she's like, "Sorry, you ain't getting this, baby." That was just so funny. It almost felt like an ad lib, but that made me laugh a lot too. But anyway,
I've got a lot of quotes written down in here that I'm gonna mention towards the end of this probably. But
I felt like overall, like, to me, like as often happens with movies like this, when it came time to, like, we got to wrap it up, we've got to have some, like, to me it was almost like the journey was the fun part. Like, the resolution kind of felt like, well, it's time for us to end this movie. Because I kind of felt like Des was a bit of a, not a wet blanket exactly, but kind of unremarkable. Like Aidan Quinn, he's doing his best, but he wasn't, when you've got like Roseanne Arquette and Madonna, like kind of carrying the meat of the movie, him as the romantic interest, didn't quite do it for me. But
especially because he, like, the whole time Roberta is going through it, he is just like, I don't have time for this.
Yes.
Like, you're doing this to me, you're dragging me into this. I asked for no drama and now I'm like bailing you out. Like, it just totally not reading the room all the time. I think he looks great, but he as a love interest, not ideal. Even though he kind of comes around in the end, but
for sure.
As all love interests in these types of movies tend to do, because we need a happy ending. Him as a love interest, I'm not 100% sold on, and I'm also not 100% sold on the sister character, Leslie Glass.
Oh, interesting.
I think she's played by Laurie Metcalf in this. She's kind of there to provide another voice to Gary about, like, what could be happening, and like how maybe he's possibly at fault for Roberta running away like they think she has. I almost wish we had like more of her and Roberta at the beginning to kind of seal that, like, they're friends together separately from Leslie being Gary's sister. But she gets some hilarious lines, especially when she's kind of interrogating Gary when they discover Roberta's disappearance, about, like, did she ever, like, orgasm with you? It's a hilarious couple of moments there. So she's good. I kind of wish we had more of her.
But I mean, there's just so many other incredible faces from both that I recognized and that I didn't. That's why I think, like, I think it seemed like Seidelman had really kind of established a lot of credibility from smithereens for her to end up landing some of these people for her second feature. I mean, there's just, like, Just of the people you recognize, I mean, like Giancarlo Esposito. I mean, granted that he wasn't like huge yet, but like, you know, Giancarlo Esposito is like the street vendor, like toward the beginning.
I totally missed that. Was that him for real?
Yep, yep. When Roberta puts on the hat, he's like, "Oh, put on here. You want to buy this hat? These sunglasses." That's
Yes.
Giancarlo Esposito.
No way.
The guy who like is stalking the newspapers is this Richard Edson, who was in like Stranger Than Paradise. Kind of a very familiar face from like the indie scene of the time, and then just lots of people from punk bands and stuff, like Stephen Wright. That sort of that guy who's I can't. He's like squatting in their house, but he's a dentist. You know the guy who's balding, who is
Yeah,
always with
Larry,
them.
who
Yeah, yeah,
who
yeah.
who Leslie is going after.
Yeah, so that's Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright was like a big sort of alt comedian from the time who would show up in movies. And it was
So
just like every
strange.
other scene had some other person who and like the did you see the Three Identical Strangers, that documentary about the
No, I
triplets?
didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, those guys are in it. Do you remember when she's I think Madonna walks past these triplets who look at her? Do you remember this? It's like a blink and you miss it thing.
Where was that in the movie? What was happening?
Toward the end. I can't remember the context, but it was from a few years ago. The documentary that made waves called Three Identical Strangers, about these three identical boys who were separated at birth. But then later on, their story became well known, and they were reunited. And I guess they're in this movie because they were kind of like a sort of pop culture thing at the moment. They're in this movie for one blink and you miss it scene. But I totally recognize those guys, mostly because I had just seen this documentary a couple of years ago. But people might remember Three Identical Strangers. Those guys are in it. The list goes on. I mean, John Turturro, obviously, as the sort of
That was the big one for me. Yeah.
barker or master of ceremonies at the Magic Club. Yeah, just so that kind of like that was the other thing that kind of made it for me. Like the movie kind of hums along, going through these vignettes of just strange people, almost kind of interestingly, not as like magical realist as this, but Roseanne Arquette also being in After Hours later this year. The year when this was released, this almost kind of has that sort of feel to it of like going on this like only in New York sort of odyssey
Yeah.
over a period of a day or so.
And the score in this movie, which is mostly like synth from what I can tell, it reminded me of the score for Miracle Mile, which is another like kind of odyssey through a city type of movie with,
Seen it. Yeah.
yeah, with like a late night energy, but that film has a bit more sinister aspect to its plot, but the score of this movie reminded me of that one.
Yeah, I liked it. It was Randy Newman score. I really dug it.
Yeah, really great.
Also behind the camera, literally behind the camera, and I was wondering because so I watched this on Canopy on my laptop, primarily in a coffee shop. So it did not look great. Like all of those choices kind of led to this not looking very great for me. You watched the Blu-ray because this was shot by Ed Lockman, who is like a now legendary cinematographer who's worked on lots of really beautiful films, and you kind of get hints of it here. Some of these other movies, so he shot the Virgin Suicides, Mississippi Masala, Far From Heaven. He's really, I mean,
Oh, he did True Stories.
yep, yep. But this was kind of his first. I kind of look back through it. This seemed like his breakout movie, like his first really big movie that he did, and you sort of get some glimpses of it. Like there's some shots outside, like where there's like this striking green light like kind of coming over the streets, and some of the shots in the clubs. How did it look for you on the Kino Blu-ray?
It looked great. The colors were very bright in this movie. The opening sequence in the salon with all of the kind of neon colors like oranges and teals kind of reflecting around that room. It was very striking to me, like immediately. It reminded me of Golden 80s, the Chantal Ackerman movie.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it last week, and that movie is an 80s musical set in a mall. So like the aesthetic of those opening shots reminded me of that movie specifically. The colors really stood out on this Blu-ray. I know there's some debate in the world of collectors about the merit of transfers that Kino uses sometimes, or, Kino kind of being like the one that other labels might get license of films from and do like a better transfer in the future. Like, the Dollars trilogy is a recent example of that getting put out by Arrow. But this, just for being a standard Blu-ray, like, I thought it was good. Like, I didn't see any major issues with like the print or the transfer or anything like that. It looked crisp and clean. Really liked it.
Yeah, I don't have this one, but if I watched it again, I would want to watch it on the Blu-ray for sure. And this is, I think, has high rewatch value because there's just so much that happens, and I think each time I watched, I would notice some little interesting little fun detail that I hadn't noticed before.
Yeah, I need to go back soon and try to scrub through for some of those details. But one that really stuck out to me was the shop where Susan trades the jacket with the pyramid on it.
The jacket that at first is like, oh, this was Jimi Hendrix's jacket, and then he says, oh,
Yeah.
this was it Frank Sinatra? Who did he say when
He
tried
said
to sell
Elvis.
Elvis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this was Elvis's jacket. That was a fun gag. Yeah.
Yeah, but that shop where she makes that trade, there's all kinds of crazy stuff in the background. There's like a Pink Panther statue. There's a Waldorf head from the Muppets just kind of hanging on a rack in the background. I took like a really grainy photo of it and sent it to you, being like, "Is that Waldorf?"
Which I definitely didn't clock that when I watched it. So,
But
details abound.
Yeah, so that's the benefit of these transfers nowadays in big TVs. Some movies it shows the seams, but some movies it can reveal some really cool details like that. Yeah, it looked great. To be honest, I was not expecting this movie to take the amnesia track. I don't know why I wasn't expecting it, because I knew the premise of the movie was like there was an identity mix-up, but I guess I missed the part reading the back of the case about the amnesia, because when it happened, I was like, oh no, they're playing amnesia like this.
I don't think I even knew that much going into it, so I actually had to and because I was also kind of like taking some notes, I had to scrub back. It's like, oh, this is what's happening when she
Yes.
there's very dramatically like her purse falls into the ocean, so she doesn't have her ID presumably, right? Like, oh, this is what's gonna happen now.
Yes. I love it. It is so goofy and classic amnesia trope to like hit your head and wake up and be like, oh, who am I?
Yeah, as she's being chased by Will Patton with this absolutely insane blonde hair.
Yes.
Very upsetting.
Really great to like help identify him across the film, but looking at it, it just is wrong.
Yes. Very unsettling and effective for what he was doing. It was funny because there's also the whole I almost forgot by the end of the movie that the whole setup is this museum heist, because so many other things happen. I was like, oh right, there's like Egyptian earrings, like that's what this whole thing is about.
Yeah, there's like a mafia angle almost, because of the mobster that Susan spends the night with and then sees that he's been pushed out of his window. Like later she sees that in the papers, and this Will Patton character trying to track down these earrings. And I think what happens is Susan has one of them, and then there was one in the jacket that Roberta gets, right?
Maybe. Or was it in her case, the one that was in the locker? I don't know.
Oh, it might have been. Yeah.
It might have been in that, but it kind of doesn't matter. There's so much fun stuff that happens along the way. It's like,
Yeah, I was just thinking because the Will Patton character jumps onto the stage after Roberta's been sawed in half towards the end to grab the earring like off of her ear. But it was just a really funny scene the way they staged that. The finale of this, I should say, like everyone converges on the Magic Club.
Yes, another trope that I kind of love about movies like this, like when everybody ends up in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody is kind of sorting through the facts of the mix-up in real time. Gary is there thinking that Roberta is living a double life as a sex worker, and he's brought Leslie along, who's giving him all these ideas about what Roberta's life could be like. And then Dez is there with his friend Jim, who is Susan's boyfriend, and they're trying to track down Susan. They all jump on stage, and it's a really satisfying way to close out the mix-up. Not to mention that chase sequence that kind of resolves the whole earring subplot. That's a little goofy too, but I enjoyed it. Are there any little small bits you wanted to mention, or?
I mean, Roseanne Arquette and Madonna both just looking fantastic. This is like a year after like a Virgin, and they absolutely give you the shot of like Madonna wearing garters and a rolled up boxer shorts and like a men's dress shirt, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is why they made this movie, and she looks fantastic. Walking through, I think that's when she walks past the triplets. When she's in that getup, she walks into some building dressed like that.
Oh, yes, I know what
Yes,
shot you're
you
talking
remember, you
about.
know what I'm
Okay.
talking about. Yeah, so those guys look. You should. Three Identical Strangers is a very good documentary, but
right.
it's this total like. I would not have understood the cultural relevance of those guys if I had not seen this documentary. But that's who those guys were. They were sort of in the zeitgeist at the time, and had parlayed their fame, I guess, or notoriety into like an appearance in this movie with Madonna. Pretty weird.
I mean,
So
who
yeah,
among us?
oh, totally. I mean, I would have been right there with them. But yeah, I mean, Madonna's just as cool as can be. And I think Roseanne Arquette totally is able to hang, and it doesn't feel like I never felt like, well, when's Madonna coming back? Like she was there just enough, and Roseanne Arquette really carries it for sure. So, yeah, I don't, you could go through any number of jokes in here and stuff. There's little gags. There's like the cigarette girl in the Magic Club, going through like listing off all these cigarettes, and she's got like extra long, premium, unleaded. Like that's a little stupid throwaway jokes like that really just got me.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that in here for sure.
So, and yeah, just the New York stuff. I love it. And they still shot a lot of it in New York with some notable, like again, and there's a scene in a diner when one of the times that Roberta is mistaken for Susan and she gets kicked out of the diner. But just the way that was one of the first ones that was like, oh, this looks good, because there's like Venetian blinds in the diner and there's light coming through, and
Yeah.
like I think that must have been a set. I don't think that was an actual diner, but then the exterior is like a diner in the city. But all the New York City stuff, ate it up with a spoon. The line at the beginning that Madonna has when they said, someone said, Mike, we all thought you were dead. She's like, no, just in New Jersey. Yeah, lots of
What a
lots of
great
fun,
line.
lot of fun bits of business. What about you? Any other notable things?
I definitely had that line of dialogue down. There's there's a scene in this movie where Madonna is eating cheese puffs while wearing lace gloves.
Yep, just iconic.
Absolutely insane.
Yep.
Like the part of my brain that is like things must be clean and neat was like, this is psychopath behavior, but also it's Madonna and it's iconic.
Oh yeah, no, I noted that too because of Wise. So those were Wise puffed cheese doodles, and as a child in the Northeast, I grew up with my fingers covered in that very same cheese dust. I was not wearing lace gloves at the time, so yeah, total queen move.
Yeah. I just wanted to note like how dangerous it is to just like air your business in the want ads and also include addresses and times of your meetings.
It's a different time. I don't know.
Anybody
More
could show
trust.
up. Anybody did show up. Like it just wanted to put that out there. The scene at the newspaper office where Roberta is submitting her ad and the guy behind her in line is like single male 40s looking for young companions or whatever. Took me out. That was really funny. The cab driver in this movie, he has one line about not liking sushi and then cooking it and it tasting like fish. Did you catch that?
I did, and that's just another one of the sort of luminaries. That is Rocket's Red Glare, another kind of stand-up comedian who that kind of comedy nerds of the time would have caught him. But yeah, they just got him in to do one silly scene, and that was it.
Yeah. Really great. Another in my list of bad choices made by these characters is Roberta drinking straight out of the bottle mere hours after what is sure to be a concussion that caused amnesia. Look, make better choices, guys. Uh, I thought Rosanna Arquette's mugshot was hilarious. That's just kind of an iconic image from this movie that I've definitely seen before. Hilarious line from Gary when they're in the club and Leslie says something along the lines of, most prostitutes are actually lesbians, and he says, I think I would know if my wife was a lesbian. Just a
There's so many moments
crazy
when I wanted to
line.
punch
Oh
him in
my
the
God.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, just awful and hilarious when he said that. Leslie orders a rum and tab at the bar. Very,
Yeah,
very much of the time.
there was some tab in one of the fridge shots too. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is the modern equivalent of placing a want ad? The closest thing I could think of was like Facebook Marketplace, maybe?
Or you mean like a misconnection sort of thing? Like
Yeah.
with this? Yeah, yeah. I mean, you still I feel like this is still done sometimes. I mean, alt weeklies kind of went away, but I think the Stranger here in Seattle might still do misconnections. I should look into that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that we've become too wary, sort of as you noted, for to do such things. I don't know what the comp is.
Yeah. And then I was going to suggest that we could talk briefly about like a couple of our favorite performances from musicians in movies. Obviously, Madonna's a big one here. But there are a handful of magicians who made the leap to actor in this period and beyond. Off the top of my head, I mean, I think this was a debut performance, but Dolly Parton in 9 to 5.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And well, previously, I think she was in the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas before that.
Let's see, did
But no,
those come
Nine to
out?
Five is definitely huge, and she was in Steel Magnolias. She's great in Steel Magnolias. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great call.
Yeah, 9 to 5 was 1980 and Best Little Whorehouse was 1982. So 9 to
Yeah,
5 was her feature debut.
Queen Latifah is somebody who I've enjoyed in a lot of movies. Recently, I saw Set It Off. She's in Set It Off. Is really good in Set It Off, and she's been in
Oh yeah.
a lot of other good
Man,
movies.
that's been on my watch list forever. I've got to get
Yeah,
to
yeah, you
that.
should check it out. It's a fun '90s flick,
Yeah.
lady crime for sure.
And I think she's returning for Ice Age 6, I guess, in
Oh gosh, yeah.
2027.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
cash that check,
Yeah.
cash that
Go
check.
for it.
I need to see more Streisand. I think I read that they wanted to put Streisand in this movie
I
instead
read
of
that
Rosanna
too.
Arquette, which
Yeah.
is to me is wild.
It would
Like I
not
think
have been the same at
it would have
all.
been very different. I'm sure it would have been great. Babs, I'm not. Please, Babs fans, don't come for us. We're too new to have you come for us. But yeah, it would have been very different.
Probably even more New York, if that's possible.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true. Very true.
yeah.
Yeah, I need to see the one that came out just this past year, One of Them Days with SZA, because I've heard that is a legit great movie and that SZA's awesome. And I think that was like her debut. So I need to see One of Them Days. Check out what SZA's working with.
Yeah. Absolutely hilarious. She goes toe to toe with Kiki Palmer in that movie. Like, it's like she was doing comedy her entire life.
Yeah,
Really great
yeah,
movie. You
I'll
should check
check
it
it
out.
out. And yeah, no, you got Bowie, you got David Byrne, you've got some other people, the sort of typical answers. But yeah, those couple are the ones that I would call out.
Yeah, yeah, those are great. As far as the physical release for this movie, there are two bonus features on the Kino disc. One is the original theatrical trailer, which I would argue doesn't count as a bonus feature if I
Yeah.
can find it on YouTube. But it does give the great line, the hottest voice in rock is now the freshest face on screen,
Mm,
referring to
there you go.
Madonna. So the trailer voiceover provided that for us. So that was cool. Also strange, the last shot of the movie is in the trailer, which obviously you wouldn't know unless you've seen the movie, but like the trailer gives away an awful lot. Just saying.
I feel like they just needed a shot of Madonna and Rosanna Arquette together, and there
Hmm.
aren't many of them
Yeah,
until
that's
the very
true.
end of the movie.
That's true. And then the other feature on this is the original ending of the film. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Well, I will explain it in brief detail. So there's some text on screen that pops up before the ending begins. But basically, the story is they screened the film with the original ending, and audiences were satisfied with how the movie ends now. But then the movie kept going for like another 5 minutes or whatever. And so, in the interest of keeping the movie, quote, compact, they trimmed the ending down. But basically, there is a longer awards ceremony for like returning the earrings. Like we see a lot of that happening. And then it slowly transitions to Jim and Des reading about the ceremony in the newspaper, sitting in a bar together, being like, I sure do miss them. Do you think they're thinking about us right now? And they have that bit of a conversation. And then it turns out it's like a fade to like you're seeing sand, and then camel's hooves, and then it pans up, and Roberta and Susan are riding camels in Egypt, being like, "Oh, I sure wish we would have gone somewhere else with this with this reward money." And then the camels just walk off screen as the music plays.
Yeah, that's weird. It already felt a little on the like when I looked at the runtime for the type of movie it was, like, it seems a little long, and I'm glad that they went with a simpler ending.
Yeah, it is just a truly bizarre ending that definitely needed to be trimmed out. But yeah, that's it for the physical release. Who knows in the future if this would ever get a 4K upgrade from another label? They could get Madonna or Patricia Arquette or someone to sit down for an interview. I don't know. I don't know how Madonna feels about this movie or her acting career in general. I'll have to ask her when I meet her one day.
Yeah.
All that to say, this is a keeper for me. I have a feeling I'll be returning to this in the future. It feels very
Nice.
much like it could be a comfort movie for me. So yeah,
Yeah,
keeping it.
I definitely add it to a watch list, either for a sale or if they, as you said, if they do an upgrade, maybe round out the features a bit. But yeah, if I'd buy it on a Kino sale, which is probably happening tomorrow.
Yeah, yep, that's true. All right. Well, that wraps up our discussion of Desperately Seeking Susan. If you have any thoughts on Desperately Seeking Susan or anything physical media related or related to any of the movies we've covered in the past on the show, you can reach out to us at blindbuyspod@gmail.com. You can leave us a note or a voice message or something there, and we will discuss it here on the air. We do actually have a letter from a friend this week. Jess, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, this comes from a friend, Noah, who is a member of a sort of a monthly cinema watch club that I belong to, informal thing where we just kind of, it's like a book club but for movies. And Noah asks, how do you go about organizing your physical media? By title, director, distribution company? Are there any things that we've tried or problems we've encountered? Great question. So I currently have limited space to have my collection out where it is accessible. So most of it lives inside of these bins that I've found that fit perfectly 2 rows of Blu-rays, like kind of stacked with the spines facing up. And in those bins, I have them organized by title. The only ones that I've sort of pulled out are the Criterions, mostly just because I enjoy seeing the spines not lined up. Again, by title, I don't do spine number. That's insane. I think the closet is the only place where that is appropriate, I think. I'm a librarian, so the idea of, like, there's no way for me to find these. There's no rhyme or reason to why. I think it's the spine numbers are an interesting artifact of history to see how the collection is, evolved, I think. But otherwise, it's title. It's got to be title. So I have those separate because I can generally remember if something's a Criterion title that I have or not. For a lot of other things, is it an error or is it a Kino? It can be kind of weird. So as nice as it would be to have because the labels, there is a sort of harmony in how they tend to design their spines and whatnot. But for the sake of how many I've got and the ease of finding, I have to do by title, otherwise I couldn't find anything. And I currently, since I have such an unwatched pile, I do have the unwatched ones separate and organized that way. So I have like bins of things that are unwatched, so I can kind of get to those easily, and then bins of things that I have seen before, and they're both organized by title and by, the Criterions are separate. But what about you, Josh? How do you do it?
That's smart. That's I should do something like that. Mine are alphabetical to a point. I did have Criterions organized by spine number up until a couple months ago, just because.
Why did you change, Josh?
Because it was getting very difficult to find what I was looking for.
You don't say.
Yeah, so I saw the light on that for sure. It's bugging me a little bit now that the numbers don't go in order, just because the numbers are so prominent on the Criterion.
It's true.
Spines.
But the other thing is, I'm not going to collect the whole collection, so I would then be bugged by there's like a gap between these numbers, right? So there's already a hiccup for me, So it's easier for me to let go of the spine number thing.
And I did get into Criterion collecting around the time that like around the time they were entering like the 800s, I think. So I like a vast majority of the Criterions I have are going to be like in the 700-800s and up. Like I have the ones that I want from the period of time, between 1 and 700 or whatever. But the likelihood of me dipping back into that period is not as high unless they do like 4K releases of older titles. So it was starting to bug me a little bit too that it was like I have jumps from like 15 to 65, and then I have like 120 through 130, and then it goes to 212, and I was like, yeah, the gaps are getting too big, especially when I have like it's the 1200s in order from like 1250 to 1270 or whatever. Like, so yeah, so I ended up taking some time to alphabetize all the Criterions. So right now I have them separated by labels and alphabetized within the labels. If I have enough if I have enough discs from a label for me to be like, okay, they can be separated out now. And you're probably wondering, do I have a set number in my mind of when a label should be pulled out and put on its own? I do not. It is just whenever I deem this label, I now have enough of them to set aside.
The urge is strong, especially with, like, the cinematograph ones are, the form factor is a little bit different. It's not, they're like a little bit taller, I think, than
Yes.
a standard Blu-ray. So that kind of like presents some aesthetic challenges, and it's just nice to have them all next to each other. But
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing.
You got to be able to find these things, man.
Yeah.
You got a lot of discs over there.
Well, that's the other thing is I keep box sets separate
That's its own challenge, yeah.
and also organized by label.
Well, because also those don't have titles that really make sense necessarily. It's like, is it like, do you do alphabetical by last name for the director if it's a director box set? If it's like Euro
True.
crime, like how am I going to remember that Police Falcon whatever blah 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 is in the Euro crime box,
Yeah.
right? So that's for that presents findability challenges.
Like
also
the blaxploitation box sets, the Solid Metal Nightmares box set, like all of those are in a different
for me,
place.
that Tsukamoto is T. So that's to me when they go up on a shelf, that's going to be, it's going to go under T for Tsukamoto because that's who I think of.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I will do. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now on my main shelf, I have one fairly large shelf in the living room, and the shelves are tall enough for me to have 2 standing rows of Blu-rays per shelf. So I got some like plastic stands that you would put, like, they're like risers that you would put like Funko Pops or collectibles on or something in the back of each shelf, so that there's a row of Blu-rays standing above, and then there's a second row of Blu-rays beneath that are, the height doesn't match exactly, but you can still see the 2 rows and they're pretty easily accessible. So
Good solution.
yeah, because
Space
otherwise
problem.
I would be maxing out, like 2 Target bookshelves or something right now. Yeah, so organized by label alphabetically. If they're not from a particularly interesting label, or if they're like studio releases, they are organized alphabetically away from the labels. And then recently I've decided to kind of cart away the more hardcore titles, so they're not as easily accessible. So like all the Vinegar Syndrome releases and Severin releases that I have are in under the bed, like plastic zipper containers. So that's a fairly recent development for me, and it poses a little bit of a challenge of how to find these things if they're under the bed and I can't see them, especially if like the rest of the family's asleep and I'm trying to find something to watch. But that's a future me problem.
I'm sure some of those listening have listened to the Big Picture Physical Media High Council episodes with Tracy Letts and company. And Tracy Letts, when his kids turn 14, they're going to get to watch whatever they want. So that's what he's doing. So maybe that will be the year when you just take out all that filth from Vinegar Syndrome and let it see the light of day.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start with something a bit less filthy. But we'll see. We'll see.
Let's see.
So thank you, Noah, for that question. Like I mentioned, if anyone has any other questions you'd like to submit, blindbuyspod@gmail.com is the mailbox. And now we're on to the final segment of our episode where we get to find out what Jesse has picked for us to cover next time. This is arguably the most exciting part of the show. The suspense is killing me. Jesse, what do you have for us next time?
Well, one of the things that we connected on early that I can remember was our mutual appreciation for the work of Lucio Fulci.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, just the, his sort of audacity and the many different genres that he chose to dive in and sort of shamelessly cash in and hit, but with his sort of very signature brand of violence and gore and practical disgustingness.
I like where this is going.
Yes, and you mentioned Cauldron earlier. For next week, we are going to be watching off of the newly released Cauldron 4K, Lucio Fulci's Conquest.
All right, this is exciting.
So this is from, what year was this? This was 1983, and this is basically his Conan the Barbarian cash-in. Viewers can't see, but there's this sort of the box art for this from Cauldron, which is, as we mentioned earlier, Diabolic DVD has a sort of, they've gone into, some years ago, into doing their own releases. And this is a hard box with this sort of like almost like blacklight poster quality to it of, what do we got here? We got someone charming a snake. We've got somebody facing off with a wolf man or something. Somebody with like an energy arrow. So this just looks fantastic.
It's awesome.
4 discs. It's got a CD with a Claudio Simonetti, aka Goblin, score on it.
Amazing.
And the release, I'll hold this up, but podcasting being an audio medium, y'all won't see this, but these came with since I got it early enough, this came with a sticker sheet from Johnny Ryan, who is known for his Vinegar Syndrome and partner label stickers.
Oh my gosh.
Some indescribable things going on in these stickers.
My eyes.
Yep. So Conquest, sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait to dive into it and to see what kind of stuff Cauldron is putting together for the features and how this looks, because it sounds like the look of this movie is very much what people seem to talk about. A lot of fog machines and neon and such. So to see how that transfers over, excited to check it out.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, and I believe this is available. As soon as I saw this felt like a Tubi classic, and I think this is indeed available on Tubi and probably some other spots for people to watch along. Yeah, it's on Tubi, so check it out there.
Yeah, so do I watch this on Tubi, or do I try to get this delivered before we record our next episode? All right, I will see what I can do. If not, I'll resort to Tubi, but this does feel like something I'm going to want, so... All right, that wraps up this episode, and we will see you all next time for when we discuss Lucio Fulci's Conquest. See you then.
Bye, everybody.